Hi, friend. It's been a little bit since I've been able to record anything, and I've been thinking about you. The reason I haven't been able to record is because I had a complete hysterectomy surgery just recently. And so I was down for a bit, but I felt like it was probably important to share my experience because it caused me so much anxiety. And maybe my experience might help somebody out there who's considering surgery or is facing surgery with FND, and it can be kind of scary. So I was really anxious about having surgery. Just to be honest, it was scaring me. Like, it's all I could think about for a while. And so I would postpone it again and again and again. I was just sure it was going to be a terrible experience and that it was going to flare up my FND so bad. And so I just did everything that I could to just avoid it and postpone it. Finally, they kept doing tests and kept finding that I have endometrioma or had in my ovary and a lot of cysts, like fibroids, in my uterus. And they were like, well, you could just watch it or, have surgery. And the thought of surgeries just scared me so bad. I was like, well, let's just watch it. And so for about a year and a half, we just watched it. And then they just kept scanning it and saying, oh, things are getting bigger. There's more than one cyst now, and you need to, things are growing and multiplying, and it's probably time to take out both ovaries. And I was just like, well, if we're going to take out both ovaries, I'm going to lose all my hormones. And that was my big concern, was basically my hormone imbalance has been a huge trigger for my FND. And at one point, I even got an IUD to help with hormones so that I would be able to function because my brain was getting so bad with my FND flaring up every time I had my period and so I had maybe one good week out of the month where I was probably okay. And then the rest of the time I was pretty flared up. So anyway, I just didn't want to have this surgery. But they went ahead and scheduled it. And I decided, if I'm going to lose both ovaries, there's no point in hanging on to my uterus because that is another potential surgery down the road. And I would just rather avoid any more surgeries. So we decided to do a complete hysterectomy. But then I started asking questions in the, you can message your doctor and stuff. And when I go to the doctor, I can get pretty flared up. So I couldn't communicate well when I was in the office. But then I would send these messages, while I was thinking clearly, I could write something. So I would write these messages to my doctor and ask questions like, so what is the plan after surgery for hormone replacement? And, knowing that this is a huge trigger for my functional neurological disorder. And, most of my doctors don't know about FND. They haven't heard about it. Or if they have, they just basically looked at the website that's, telling an AI description of what FND is. So this got him starting to think of, what is she talking about? Why does she keep asking about hormone replacement? And why is this such a big concern? He's like, we can't really make an appointment till after your surgery. And I'm like, I don't want to be on a waiting list for a year, twitching in a pile on the floor. I just would like to kind of have a plan in place to avoid all the red tape. At least could I please get an appointment with somebody? And so he started looking into what were the symptoms that I was dealing with. And when he found out like more about FND. He was just like kind of scared to do the surgeries, just saying, you know, these are the kind of same symptoms we look for if something goes wrong with anesthesia. And how am I going to know if it's FND or if it's like some problem with surgery? And so he didn't feel comfortable doing the surgery. And at first I was just like, oh, great. Another doctor's passing me off like I'm a difficult patient and they don't want to have me in their office. And I just kind of took it personally at first. But then like the weekend before the surgery, he's like, no, really, I think you need to go somewhere else to get this done. So I rescheduled with a different doctor. And to make a long story short, it like gave me a whole bunch of more options. Like they were able to have a bigger hospital with more specialists on hand. They were able to handle, like, there was a couple of complications that came up during the surgery where they had to, you know, do more, not bad complications, but like just things where the ovary was attached in weird ways and it was blocking their access to the ureter, and then they had to like dissect it around there. So then maybe they wouldn't have been able to do that at this smaller hospital. But it was actually a really good thing that I had extra specialists on hand, and I had a much better experience having a different surgeon. Not that the surgeon I had at first was bad, but just that this was a better facility. And he did these things like all the time. So I was a little bit like less anxious about the surgery after talking to the new surgeon, but I was still pretty anxious. I kept flaring up like before the surgery because I kept getting so worried about it. And the closer I got to it, like the more my FND would flare up. So the day of surgery, I showed up and I was actually a little more calm than the days leading up to it. And so I was okay when I got there, but then the longer we were there, I just, you know, more twitchy and more anxious. But they like turned down the lights, and lights are a big trigger for me. So that helped. And everybody was so nice and so calm and like, so it was actually not flaring as badly as I was worried about. Like I twitched a little bit, but like it wasn't terrible. And then as things got injected in my IV, like my brain would react to it like a little twitchy, and then something else would go in and then it would get a little twitchy again. But it wasn't like as bad as it has been in the past sometimes. So like it wasn't terrible. You could tell I was a little anxious about things and I was twitching, but like with me, my FND usually shows up in like my head jerking to the left, or my body twitching. My cognition shuts down, and then it's hard for me to form sentences and think clearly. But it wasn't terrible. But as soon as they gave me the stuff to go to sleep and get into surgery, like, I don't know. I haven't had that many surgeries, so I was kind of surprised, like, how fast, like, you get knocked out. And the next thing I knew, I was waking up. And so when I was waking up, it was really hard to wake up. I was really sleepy. And there was, like, all these people saying, oh no, your blood pressure is so low. And it was like 60/30 or something. It was very low. And then they were saying, are you always this hard to wake up after surgery? I'm like, I don't have surgeries that often. Like, last one was like 30 years ago, so I don't know. And, but anyway, I had this feeling like somebody was laying their hands on my head, like giving me a blessing. And it was like, I could feel like from the other side, like hands coming. It just felt like power, like like a miracle, like somebody was reaching out from the other side and helping me. I don't know how spiritual you are or how much you get strength from things like that, but I am very, very spiritually oriented, and it really meant a lot to me to have that miracle. And as soon as that happened, then everything started getting better. My blood pressure came up. I became more alert, and I was able to see things going on around me and understand what was happening. And like everything from that point got better. The first few days after surgery, I was really surprised at how well I was doing, like with my brain. I could tell I had had surgery. I was sore, and like after it was laparoscopic, so like there was a lot of shoulder pain and gas pain and stuff that comes with that. And that was like the most surprising part of it, was I could just felt like I was going to pop. But I was very happy that my brain was super put away and happy most of the time. There was like a few flare-ups on about day 3 or 4 when my hormones like really dipped, and I guess it took a few days for all of it to get out of my body. But then I was having really bad hot flashes, and then my brain started flaring up with the FND, and I started having like a lot of like really jerky head and body, and I was just laying there in bed going, okay, here it comes. This is the part I was scared about, like here we go. I guess I had a few days off, but here it comes. But then it just kind of went away, and it didn't really get too bad. And I started hormone replacement like a few days after that, when I did my follow-up with my doctor, and my brain is still pretty happy, even with the hot flashes. Like everything's not quite level yet hormonally, but my FND is still pretty put away. Like, I've been surprised at how well I've done, because I had this vision of like how bad it was going to be. And, like I just had anticipated that I would be at my worst, because I had like this really, really bad set of flare-ups before I got the IUD placed. And it was like so bad, it was scaring me. And so I figured with a few hormones, like with my hormones being low, and it was that bad, I can't imagine how bad it will get when I have like no ovaries and all of my hormones are going to be out of whack. But it's actually been a lot better than before the surgery. So like if you're worried about something that is in your future, I don't know, maybe you'll have a better experience than you were anticipating. A lot of times I have like the Chicken Little syndrome, where I'm just so worried about things, and I think that the world's going to end and the worst things are always going to happen. And maybe that's why I have FND in the first place, is because I'm always worrying about everything. But it hasn't been that bad, really. And I'm still only 10 days in, so, my story could change later. But right now I'm pretty happy with things, and excited for what's next. I just feel like, I had prepared so much and worried so much and thought this was going to be so, so, so hard. And it actually hasn't been that bad. So I hope that gives you some encouragement if you're facing something like that. And I hope you have a great day. And I'll talk to you soon. See ya.